Hi, I'm Emma Miller, and welcome to the full version of our show, Art This Week Bio's Conduit Gallery. Here we present the entire second interview we filmed with Nancy Whitenack as she talks about her moves to 3200 Main Street and then to her current space at Highline Drive. Now for our full interview with Nancy. What prompted your move from your Elm Street location to your Main Street location in Deep Ellum?
Deep Ellum in the late 90s was becoming quite a punk place. I actually had a large plate glass window broken, which prompted me to have to put metal cage in front of the windows because I was afraid it would happen again. It was getting to be pretty rowdy, and it seemed a nice time to move off the street. I have always loved 3200 Main building. I used to go there when DW Gallery was there. Michelle Hurling had a beautiful gallery there, and I loved that building. And so it was a great opportunity to move into that building, which meant, though, that we moved onto the second floor, making the gallery much more of a destination. But it worked for us. It was a great space to be in.
So how was that when you moved? How was that kind of perceived by the community, and what was their reaction to you moving onto Main at 3200?
I think people generally enjoy a new space. You know, it's a kind of a new discovery. So that's always exciting to open a new venue, a new space, not a new venue. When you are in a new space, you have to learn a different way of installing things. The 3200 Main space had these very large columns as a part of the architectural element within the main gallery space. And so to install work, you really had to consider those columns. We had constructed a small gallery space off to the side of the main exhibition space, which allowed for two exhibitions if you wanted to do that. So it was you had to kind of reevaluate how you installed, and the space asked for a certain kind of consideration. So that was fun.
So with that in mind, I know sculptor Tom Orr was kind of one of your first shows there. And from reviews, I mean, it seems that the space was very fluid, and like you say, the columns, the architecture was a big part of it. In subsequent shows, was this something that you wanted to do, or kind of did it transform over time? I know you kind of created that second space, and...
Yes, I mean, because this space was quite different. On Elm Street, we had one very large room, and then a secondary area, mainly office space. So the space on Elm Street did offer a different way of looking at and determining how to present work. We had a closet down the hall where we stored work, which became so packed that it was really useless. We couldn't get work in or out. It was, becoming a real frustration. And so the person who worked with me at the time, Marty Walker, suggested that we clean it out and use it as a small extra space. So we spent actually the week between Christmas and New Year's taking all of the work out of that storage room. We actually laid it all out and had a sale, and then had this new space to consider, which we called the Annex, which was the beginning of a really exciting addition to our program. I had gone to Denton to a studio visit with Marty. Marty was a painter who had finished her MFA at UNT. And so we enjoyed the visit. I subsequently was looking for a gallery person and talked to her about that, and she was interested.
So with kind of the building of this annex, kind of what was the significance of that for you and for them as well?
Good Bad Art Collective were a group from Denton, students and some former students, who really did amazing work. And generally, they would do a one-night stand, and always kind of outrageous. And so, and I think this was Marty's suggestion as well, that we inaugurate that annex space with a show by the Good Bad Collective. And it was perfect. It was a great way to say this is a space that we're going to use to do things not like we generally do things in the bigger gallery space. It will be a much more provocative, experimental space.
So how did people see that space when they came to the openings, and how was it viewed among all of the gallery fans and
it was
collectors?
A favorite place. You know, people would come into the gallery and then go down the hall, because the annex space was literally down the hall from the regular gallery space. You couldn't get into it from the big space. So so there was during an opening, a constant traffic up and down the hallway. And this building is a residential building. And so there were people living on that hall, I'm sure. I'm not sure how they appreciated the traffic, but it was very lively on opening nights. And people were always interested to see what would happen in the annex space. It really enlivened our program a lot, because it was always someone new and different from our regular mode.
Did the community kind of see you as an innovative leader in the Dallas art scene because of kind of these new developments that you were creating? And I mean, this kind of the idea of this small space used to show, I mean, Good Bad's work and others as well.
I felt like it was innovative. I don't know that other galleries had that kind of program. So I do feel like that was a kind of a different idea to explore. I think the fact that we used the space to show work by artists not in the gallery was another kind of novel idea for galleries in Dallas. I would say I feel like a lot of our programming at the gallery, period, was rather innovative. I did a number of installations that really were not about selling art so much as they were about really exploring a larger idea. Robert Barsamian comes to mind. He did a number of installations where he would come into the gallery space and literally build it out and transform the space. And his work was about the Armenian genocide. And so it was really educational and provocative in terms of the ideas he was working with. We did this wonderful installation that Patrick Fallhaber did. The the show was called Dance, and he had built a wooden dance floor across the gallery and hung a big mirror ball, and had a jukebox, and music was always playing. And then he did these really small, exquisite little paintings, which he hung around the gallery. And that was a really charming and wonderful installation. It's been something that's been important to me, is to not only do beautiful shows of an artist's work that certainly is for sale, but also do some installations that really are about substantial ideas that may not have anything for sale.
So were those ideas mainly brought to you by the artists, or did you draw inspiration for that from Deep Ellum and kind of the neighborhood and area in which you were in?
Mostly those ideas would come from an artist who would present an idea of something they wanted to do. On occasion, I've had people other than artists in the gallery who've had a proposal they wanted to make, and we've considered that and shown that work as well.
So kind of moving on to your move to the design district, what do you think was kind of your main reason for doing that in 2002?
Deep Ellum was becoming a neighborhood that was kind of at kind of a crossroads. It was. It didn't have the energy that it had had earlier in the 90s, which was a real club scene, and people really loved going to Deep Ellum. I think there was a lot more kind of petty crime going on, cars getting broken into. People were not as interested in coming down to Deep Ellum. September 2011 was a really dark month, where I was beginning to wonder if what I needed to do, because there was less attendance, less interest in coming down. Parking was really difficult. I had a call from someone who worked in the design district who wanted me to come and look at spaces in the design district. I thought, that's interesting. Why not? So I came down and looked around. She showed me this space. And I had the feeling that I either needed to close the gallery and do something different, or I needed to really kind of remake myself, reinvest the gallery. The rent was certainly different from what I had been paying, and that was scary. But it seemed like a really interesting idea in a neighborhood with great furniture companies, a really nice neighborhood, lots of parking. I thought about it for a little while and decided, what the heck, it's worth the risk. And so I made the move here the following May, and it's been a great move.
So with that, the community you had developed around Conduit Gallery, what was their reaction to this move? Were they excited, or
A couple of good collectors whom I trust were a bit puzzled why I wanted to move to the design district. They were afraid that I would be perceived as becoming decorative or something. And they wondered if it were a good move or not for me. I, on the other hand, felt like it was great space, Um, a lot of people come down here for various reasons to begin with. It got rid of some of the problematic issues that Deep Ellum had become for me.
And I know kind of after you made this move, there were a couple other galleries that kind of immediately followed. Can you just touch on that a little bit?
Soon after I moved to the design district, Craighead Green bought a building and moved here. And then, well, and what's interesting, actually, in the 80s, I think the 80s or the early 90s, Nimbus Gallery was down here. They closed some years before I moved down here. And then other galleries began to come into the area. There were a couple of galleries here, but they were strictly to the trade. They were not open to the public. So I was the first exhibition gallery to move down here. And now it's a really great community.
So with that being in mind, now you being in your 30th year, looking back, which of the 3 locations would you say has been your favorite?
I loved the 3200 Main building. I loved the architecture of the building. I loved the fact that Under Main Theater was there. I had an apartment next door, which I really enjoyed very much. So that was kind of a dream, because I had always wanted to be there and finally moved to that building. But I have to say, moving to this neighborhood has been a very smart move for me.
Do you feel that this location has kind of provided you the best option to grow as a gallery?
Definitely. It's offered twice the space that I had previously. The public are very comfortable coming here. Yeah, it's a very good place to be.
We want to thank Nancy for speaking with us. You can find more information on the gallery at conduitgallery.com. Watch for other episodes about Conduit Gallery over the next few weeks. That's it for Art This Week Bios. Thanks for watching.
I still got your Polaroid.